the? Here goes, baby. Oh my god, it's so much. Please? Yes. Alright, now where is he? There we go. Oh god, dude. Honestly, it's glorious. It's so much loot and plunder. Come here, boy. Solo Skeleton Fort number 4? Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back. Force here with some more Sea of Thieves. Today's video is going to be some tips on how to solo a skeleton fort solo. I've gotten asked quite a few times about how I do it, and I've done it frequently enough that I think I can give you guys some insight and information. The first thing I want to say is it can absolutely be done. Don't think at all that you need a full crew or that you even need 2 people. You can solo a skeleton fort. The second thing I want to say is that it might not really be worth it. It takes a ton of time, you don't get anything extra out of it, you get just as much gold as if you were to do it with people, and it can be more of a pain in the butt if other crews come while you're soloing it. Honestly, this has got to be it for me because it's glorious. It's so much loot and plunder, but holy shit, it's so exhausting to solo these things. It takes forever. But if you're someone who just plays solo or you want to try it for the challenge, it can totally be done. So let's go over some tips on soloing the skeleton fort. The first thing is the approach. You're gonna have a bunch of those skelly towers shooting at you as you get close to the fort, but you don't want to fight back, you don't want to kill the skeletons in those towers, you just want to get really close to the island to a point where you're not getting shot. I think if I park on this beach. Stop it. I think I have to get closer to not get hit by these guys. First things first, patch up the ship. So this is a pretty good spot. I'm gonna spin my ship around in case I gotta make a quick exit. My location is good. I found that every single skeleton fort has at least a few locations where you can park your ship without getting barraged by the skeleton towers. And the reason you want to keep those towers alive is because they act as a very important defense mechanism when other ships approach. The skeletons firing at those enemy ships tells you that they're coming, which gives you a great warning. I'm leaving all the forts up, which is really nice. It's gonna tell me big time if anyone's coming for me. Just start keeping my eyes out for other ships, although I haven't heard the cannons go off yet. So now that you're at the fort and you've parked your ship safely, it's time to prepare. What you want to do is find the best location for you to actually fight the skeletons. Now in my experience, that has been the central tower that is at every skeleton fort. Just go inside. I don't need to hang out here. Oh, the lighting at night's so good. The blues and reds. Every fort that I've been to, there's also an ammo refill right at that second level on the skeleton tower. It's also a smart idea before you start fighting a ton of the waves to find the barrels on that particular skeleton fort where the banana refills are, because you're gonna still take damage and you'll be needing to refill your health. Let me try to find the banana barrels now while it's kind of a little relaxed here. Okay, calm down. So you park safely at the fort, you're all set up for the fights. What about the different skeletons? Well, we all know about the bone skeletons. They're rather traditional. You can use whatever you want to kill them. I typically like to roll around with the pistol and the blunderbuss as my default setup. Also realize that the modified skeletons have some strengths and weaknesses. So the gold skeletons are pretty durable. They take a lot of gunfire to take down, but they're weak to water. So if it's raining, or if you just take your bucket, fill it with water, and dump on the skeletons, that sentence didn't come out the way I wanted it to. It's gonna not only slow them up, but it makes it so that they take more damage, so you can kill them quicker. Hey boys. So if you fill up a water bucket and toss it on the gold skeletons, it debuffs them. They die quicker. Now the wild skeletons also seem to be pretty durable to gunfire, but they are weak to melee. So whip out that cutlass. A nice triple slash will take care of a lot of those plants, of those wild skeletons. They get staggered when you do this other attack. Also bear in mind though that the wild skeletons do regenerate health when they get wet. And then finally there's the shadow skeletons. As far as I can tell, their only difference is that they become invulnerable when it's dark. And that's a pretty big difference, but you can pull out your lantern, raise it up to them, and then they become vulnerable, allowing you to attack them for a few seconds.
I don't know if this is working.
Raise it up with right click, and you'll see them scream when it works. So those are all of the skeletons. Now let's talk about the fight itself. As I mentioned, the center tower is by far the best spot I've seen to fight skeletons when you're soloing a skeleton fort. Some people like to lure them out to their ship and fire cannons at them. You can do that. There's all sorts of ways to do it, but if you just want to fight them, go to that center tower. And basically what I do is I run around the ring and constantly refill my ammo, but this also lets you line of sight the ranged skeletons. And this is the biggest problem when you're trying to solo a skeleton fort. The ranged skeletons will basically lock onto you, and then after a couple of seconds, they'll fire and they never miss. But if you don't give them that opportunity, that few seconds that it takes for them to lock on, making it so that you almost never get shot by the ranged skeletons. And that's what really allows you to solo these forts pretty darn easily. Hey, ranged boys. So, you've done everything, you know how to fight the skeletons, you know the different skeleton types, you know the methods that you're gonna use. What about the end? We've got the final captain, the big boss. How do you defeat him? Explosive barrels tend to do the trick. What I like to do is I set a trap at the choke point of the tower, funnel all of the skeletons, including the boss, into that point, either by jumping off so they follow me out, and then jumping back in, and then they all end up kind of funneling into one spot. I just pop a couple of explosive barrels that are all lined up ahead of the boss coming out. It one-shots them most of the time. Please? Yes! You could also use the explosive barrels and the funneling of the skeletons technique for the other waves as well if you're having a hard time or you just want it to go a little quicker. And then it's just time to pick up the key and turn it in. But first, make sure you check for other ships, and throughout this whole process, you're gonna have to keep a keen eye out because you are a solo player, but that's why we left the skeletons up in the towers to shoot cannonballs at approaching ships. That will give you the warning that you need if other ships are approaching. This is certainly doable, you can solo it, but as I mentioned, it's not ideal. It doesn't give you anything extra. You get just as much gold if you were to do it with friends or you matchmake with people, but it can be done. It's a bit of a challenge, and I had some fun doing it as well. Hopefully you guys liked this video, giving you some tips on how to solo the skeleton forts in Sea of Thieves. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.